Miami Dolphins are headed to Charlotte to face the Carolina Panthers on the road, a battle of 1-3 teams. Which organization and franchise is going to be circling the drain? Omar Kelly here with Isaiah Smalls on Dolphins in Depth to sort of break down and preview this battle of one team is going to get on both its legs. One team is going to be able to start crawling and maybe eventually walking. The other team, the loser, the vultures are going to start coming out and start to pick these organizations and franchises apart. The coaches are going to be second guessed. The GMs are going to be in the hot seat. Both teams are battling injuries. I think the Carolina Panthers are on their third starting offensive guard. Robert Hunt is out. His backup is out. It is what it is. They will be.
Hubbard is out as well.
Yeah, they will be out. Their leading running back. What kind of contest or match do you see the Dolphins having with Carolina?
I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think, just based solely off the fact that the Dolphins will be trying to do something that they haven't really had a lot of experience doing, specifically winning without Tyreek Hill, right? And so just based off that alone, it will be interesting to see how this offense adapts. Look, I think they might see less too high looks. That has kind of become the default, defensive scheme against the Dolphins, right? And so with the absence of an excess of too high looks, it'll be interesting to see whether or not the Dolphins can take advantage of strictly just running the ball, right? They have a good tandem with Ollie and Devon, outside of what Devon can do from a running standpoint. Obviously, he's a great pass catcher. He's, third on the team in receptions, third in yards, second on the team in receptions, and tied for first in terms of touchdowns, right? So he's somebody that can give them a different element, and I expect him to also be utilized similarly in the pass game, right? I think last week, he caught one ball for 2 yards. I don't think that was just within the game plan to have him being the receiving threat that he is, right? And so now I think, with no Tyreek Hill.
He didn't score that touchdown on a catch?
No, he scored the touchdown on a run, one play. I believe. Or was it? I might be totally wrong. You might be right.
Continue with your point.
But my point is, bottom line, I just think that it will allow, Tua to spread the ball around a little bit more. Obviously, Waddle's going to be there, but I'm curious. One thing I just realized on the way home. Obviously, the Panthers have a pretty solid cornerback in J.C. Horn, right? So, it'll be interesting to see how that matchup goes. But I think the Dolphins will
not elite. What did the Dolphins do against the highest paid cornerback in the NFL last week?
Yeah, you're right, but I don't think Sauce is as great as people think he is. Like he's definitely solid. He's definitely solid. Oh, that might be a very interesting debate. We can go back and forth on that. I'd have to look at the more
reputation wise.
Oh yeah, reputation wise, yeah, of course he's the highest paid corner in the league, right? But if you look at those interception numbers, right?
Sauce has never been an interception guy. I think I'm not a huge Sauce Gardner fan, personally, but
he was kind of getting roasted a little bit. He definitely got mossed. Darren Waller definitely mossed him, which was pretty cool to see. But look, it'll be interesting to see what this offense looks like, because I said this on Twitter earlier today, I think anybody that tells you definitively that they know what this offense will look like is lying to you, based solely off of the fact that there hasn't been Tyreek, for God knows how long, right? So look, it'll be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to it. I do think the Dolphins will win. I think this is a time for the defensive line specifically to have their way, right? Build some confidence.
Have their way with what?
Have their way with run defense, right? They not only will they be starting a backup running back in Rico Dowdle, right? As you mentioned, they're on their third guard, right? This could be a day for you to really showcase who you are, right?
Did Rico rush for 1,000 yards with Dallas?
He did. Yeah, but like he's not like amazing. He's not like the best.
Neither is Hubbard. Neither is Hubbard. But
yeah, but Hubbard had a pretty solid year last year, in part because he was running behind Rob Hunt, right? And we saw what this offense looked like running behind Rob Hunt. You and me can go back there and potentially put up some numbers. You know what I'm saying?
I ain't getting you nothing. I ain't getting you
nothing. But
yeah.
What I will say is this: there's a reason why they didn't keep him last year, right?
Okay, that's fair. But what has this defensive front done or shown you all season that makes you think that they can actually play good football?
They haven't shown me much, honestly. And that was the thing that I was going around the locker room today, like asking Bradley, asking Matthew Judon, like, look, what should I be looking for with the run defense? Like, how can you guys improve? Right. And Bradley, said straight up violent hand usage, right? Like they have to do a better job of shedding blocks, right? And I think and when you watch this defensive line, that is exactly what's happening. Like there might be a few plays where Kenneth Grant gets free and makes a play, not necessarily in the backfield, but once basically limits the running back to a 1-2 yard gain.
Kenneth Grant to get free. What I need
no, but I'm saying on running plays.
I just need him to not get moved 4 yards downfield.
Just
like I'm at the point now with Kenneth Grant, and as I said before, I don't criticize rookies until the midseason point of the year because realistically, more has been put on every rookie's plate than it probably should be. Jonah, Kenneth Grant, Jordan Phillips, Deontay Trader, Ollie Gordon, and even though Ollie's not really carrying the ball, takes a rookie a minute to figure it out, figure out the game, figure out the speed, figure out that, hey, I can't outrun these linebackers or this is a different game. The speed of the game is just different.
Yeah, for sure.
But Kenneth Grant, I'm realizing he's a nose tackle. He's not a defensive tackle. Now, is he strong enough to anchor as a nose tackle? I don't know. Benito Jones, I know he's not on the injury report, but you don't go from having an oblique injury 1 week to having nothing the next week. It doesn't work like that. And realistically, he's Benito Jones. Everybody is saying, and I do believe this, Zach Sealer is taking on everybody's problems on his shoulders, and he's trying to do too much. And I think he had a good 2-play series against the Jets that kind of reminded us who Zach Sealer is, but he needs that other guy. He needs that other guy to play off. And right now, there is no other guy. And I'm a little bit worried what's going to happen from this point moving forward for this defense, because if these rookies or young players don't elevate their level of play, stick a fork in this thing, because everybody can run. Everybody's in short yardage on third downs. Doesn't allow you to pass. No pressure on the quarterbacks. No turnovers. Outside of the turnovers they got last week, it's just a recipe for disaster. So something has got to change. Offensively, we talk about Tyreek. Tyreek is an irreplaceable player. I mean, there isn't anybody in the NFL. I don't know if you can even name somebody who is like Tyreek in terms of what they can do. Run after catch, deep threat, the challenges that he presents to an opposing defense. But the important thing is, and I said this on Twitter, and I do mean it, this Dolphins team has had more practices without Tyreek than they've had with Tyreek. So there should be no excuse. Since April, he didn't practice in OTAs because of his broken wrist. That's an entire offseason program. Didn't participate in training camp. Didn't participate in the mini camp. What did he do? 2 weeks of training camp before he started having the oblique issue? He didn't play in any of the exhibition season. Like, what you look like without Tyreek Hill, because you've been without Tyreek Hill for most of the offseason. The question I have for you, Isaiah Smalls, is who is going to step up?
I think it's got to be a little bit of everybody, right? I don't think you can put it on one player's shoulders, right? Jalen Waddle has to be better. Not necessarily be better. He has to remind people, because I asked him this today. I was curious because, when Joe Shad asked him, "Are you ready to be a wide receiver one?" I could see the look on his face. It was kind of like, come on, man, like, come on. And so I went up to him one-on-one and just was like, "Hey, man, like, I'm not recording, or I'm not gonna, put this out there. I'm just curious if you think that people kind of forgot about you a little bit, right? In the sense that, Tyreek came, he's going to be the guy that's flashy, catching all the balls, all the deep threat, catching the touchdowns, all that stuff, right? Do you think people forgot about you?" And he was, Jalen Waddle was a very humble guy. He said, "I don't necessarily think people forgot about me. I just think that, when you have a bunch of offensive weapons, right, somebody's going to have to take some more shine than everybody else, right?
Somebody else is going to have to take the back seat."
Exactly. And so he was comfortable essentially taking that back seat. However, as Malik Washington also told me, it's time for some people to be reminded about who Jalen Waddle is. So I say all that to say Waddle's obviously going to have to take a big step and remind people who he is. Malik Washington is obviously going to have to take a step forward. But then also you got guys like Dee Eskridge, right? NWI, right? Tahj Washington, right, who had a pretty impressive training camp as far as I'm concerned. It was straight. It was okay. He made
a slot receiver.
Yeah, for a slot receiver, yeah. It was all right. So I think take all that into account, right? Obviously, there's no Tyreek. You have to spread the ball around. What we saw from Darren Waller was pretty exceptional, right? So if Darren Waller is going to draw some attention away from some of these guys, right, we could have a recipe for success, right?
Hold on. You're insinuating that Darren Waller is going to play an entire game. I don't think he's more than a 25 snap player.
No. I don't think that he's going to be as many snaps as, he's not going to play the full game. He's not going to play the full allotment of snaps. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that a lot of this offense was what? It was Tyreek Hill, to use the great Chris Perkins's phrase, right? It's Tyreek Hill and the threat of Tyreek Hill, right? Well, now Darren Waller caught 2 touchdowns in his first game, right? Are you going to honestly tell me that opposing defensive coordinators aren't going to be at least a little bit concerned, at least when they get in the red zone, that like this is a guy that could still affect the game?
Okay, red zone.
They would be in on third downs, because he had his first catch was what? It was
he's going to be a factor on third down and in red zone.
I just say all that to say, like, these are critical situations. Those are money downs. This is the red zone, right? These are why they make the big bucks that they make, right? Those 2 areas, third down, critical situations in the red zone, right? And so if you have a guy that can be a threat in both of those areas, right? What's stopping opposing defensive coordinators from trying to key in on a Darren Waller, right? Absolutely. Which opens up things for a Tahj Washington, for a Dee Eskridge, for a Jalen Waddle, right? So I say all that to say, look, we just have to. I'm urging patience, basically, because and you might be thinking, hey, my patience is worn thin. It's week 5.
I'm out. Done.
And that's fine. I have
no more patience for this franchise. None.
I hear you, but this is a different team than what we saw in week 1. It is.
I don't care.
This is a different
team. Don't care. Have they had more practices without Tyreek Hill than they have with him?
They have.
You should know what your identity is without Tyreek Hill.
I'm sure they do.
You should know who can make plays without Tyreek Hill. You should know who has chemistry with Tua Tagovailoa without Tyreek Hill.
Oh, of course. Yeah,
don't pretend like you don't know.
Oh, yeah, of course. We know all these things. But in terms of what it will look like on game day, I think is a little bit of a mystery, just because there was no Darren Waller during that time, right?
Okay, that's fair. But I want to hear, and I wrote a column in the Miami Herald, and no more excuses. I'm out. My patience is done. I don't want to hear any. We just lost Tyreek Hill. It's going to take us a month to adjust and adapt, and I don't want to hear none of it.
That's not what I was saying. When I was saying patience, let me clarify that. Patience is 2 quarters. I want it. Y'all got to have it figured out by halftime. At the very least, make some adjustments, and third quarter, y'all got to be ready to roll, right? That's what I see.
Yeah. You should know exactly what Malik Washington could do, what Nick Westbrook-Ikhine can do, what Tahj Washington can do. Yeah, Darren Waller probably is still figuring it out. Tua acknowledged it. He's still figuring it out. He's still testing the capabilities. But my biggest concern is the chemistry issues, the communication issues. Are you going to have to dumb down some of your offense? You don't do the motions on the road anyway. So that's, to expect them to do these cheat motions when they have to go to a silent cadence is not really realistic. Not a steady diet of it. But, we know what Malik Washington can do. Is he a slot? Is he a flanker? And if you're going to put him at flanker, who's going to handle the slot? Are we going to see a small dosage of 5 plays for Tahj Washington? Are we going to see some package for Nick Westbrook-Ikhine? Are we going to see some Dee Eskridge? I would say that Dee Eskridge is probably the guy on the roster talent-wise that kind of compares the closest to Tyreek Hill in terms of, nobody's Tyreek Hill, but in terms of what he can do in terms of deep speed, physical toughness, run after catch. Are we going to utilize some of those Tyreek Hill plays? Or are we just going to – people have this theory that, Tyreek's gone, we could just put Jalen Waddle in that spot. And the offense is going to run – through Jalen Waddle. Like, no, you don't do that. Like, one, Tua has the comfort, understanding, knowledge of where Jalen Waddle is from his split end spot, and they work it like that. And why would you change up everything now because Tyreek is not there? You just have to figure out who is best to fill in some of these roles. And also the passing game has to evolve a little bit, Tua talked about there's a difference between Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. I have to throw maybe balls higher, get work on his catch radius. I think Nick Westbrook-Ikhine could probably run block a little bit better than some of the other receivers. So maybe you utilize your run game. I've said consistently, the one thing we know the Dolphins offense can do is they can run the ball. Yes, they're not, that offensive line is not good at much, but they can run block. Now pass block, a little bit, I know they didn't allow any sacks last week, but let's not pretend like Tua wasn't scrambling for his life or they weren't rolling out the pocket. And I'm not saying when you face a Quentin Williams, sometimes that's got to be the game plan.
Yeah,
you can't have Tua sitting there like a sitting duck.
For sure.
So I like the coaching evolution, and that's the one thing that I can say I know unequivocally about Mike McDaniel. When he had this genius reputation, I still think he's a very smart game planner, offensive coordinator. He can evolve, and he will evolve. He is forced to evolve now. Now, the question is, what is it going to look like? And I also will point out that this is a preview for the 2026 season, if they actually get there, because nobody in the world thought Tyreek Hill would be here in 2026 because of his contract. So here's a preview of what you might be dealing with moving forward. And you got to figure out whether or not this is salvageable or not. But you're right. One of the guys who has to step up is Malik Washington, simply from the standpoint he knows the offense better than everybody else on the roster outside of Jalen Waddle. The question is, what can he do? And here's Malik on that.
With Tyreek and stuff and make sure he's okay. Seeing that he's in good spirits is great for, everybody in that room. But like you said, for everybody in that room, a little bit of an elevator role. Everybody's got to step up. Everybody's got to be prepared for the moment. So throughout this week, we've been practicing as if, that's the situation as it is. And I think for the previous, 4 or 5 weeks, we've been practicing like that. So it's kind of just stepping into it now and being in the moment.
You mentioned Tyreek. I know that he came in, surprised you guys. Just what was that like, and what were some of the things he said?
Yeah, it's great to just see Tyreek and to be around Tyreek and see him smiling and stuff like that. Obviously, he has so much to say. He's always joking around and stuff like that. But to see him in that moment and to see him, so happy and stuff, considering what happened, despite what happened, it's great for us.
Yeah. The one thing that I will say that I did not know and was concerned about after the injury, and even when you talk to players in the locker room, is okay, they know there's a challenge replacing Tyreek, the player, the playmaker. But Tyreek, the leader, the emotional leader, the guy who keeps things light, the guy who challenges other players, the guy whose energy is unmatched, there's going to be a little bit of an evolution. Now, I will say this, Darren Waller might potentially fill that void, fill that role. From what I understand, he's an emotional player. The Dolphins shared his post-game speech when he basically took Mike McDaniel and said, Mike, go on over there. Let me say something. And
he had a bar in that speech too.
I don't know why you don't like his raps, baby, because I
like that was a bar. I gave credit. That was a tweet that I put out. I literally clipped it. What did he say? He said something about the man. It's not the
man who handles himself when things are going well. It's the man who handles himself in adversity that I admire.
Yeah, that's the guy that I admire. Yeah, he had a bar and a half, man. That was fire.
Got some bars in his raps. You just not giving it the respect this
all right,
dude.
Maybe that'll be mine.
The song and the video where he's walking through the field and he's talking about his depression and breakup of his relationship and losing Kelsey Plum.
Oh yeah,
man, I
hated
felt that. That was in my heart right here.
Maybe I haven't been through a bad enough breakup. I hated that.
Yeah, you ain't been through a bad enough breakup.
Yeah,
it's clear.
That song was. I don't. The words that I have for that aren't okay.
Nah, you ain't giving it the respect it's due, man.
I just remember when he posted that like he got clowned in multiple group chats.
Multiple group chats. It's a bar. And listen, that's a good song. Now the beam on me, the whole beam on me.
That was what I posted too on Twitter because I like that one got me hyped. That was my Tuesday mood, man. That was off a scheme for me. Had the whole team on me. That joint was kind of tough.
Now you respect it.
That one was straight. That one was straight.
Okay.
The other one, look, I do need to ask him. One of my favorite questions for the players is what you listening to. So I'm very curious to see what him as being a rapper, what he's listening to. So I need to go follow up on that one very soon.
Man, you got to check out some of that music. I like everybody was playing the video and playing the clips and John Gruden was, John Gruden was hyping it up. And I like that. Hopefully he can continue to make some plays.
Of course.
For this Dolphins team. Now, Isaiah, let's get into some of these predictions and thoughts about this game. I look at this as very, people will say, they should win this game. They should, really, realistically, the Dolphins are that team where everybody's looking at the schedule and saying, yeah, I should get that. So don't be in denial about who you are. Like the Panthers probably looking at you being like,
they are for sure. Yeah. They are. But I will say this, and I said this on Twitter earlier. I feel like the next 5 games are very winnable, man. Just because of if the injuries hold, right? Think about this. Look. I'm going to just read off the schedule. Obviously, you have the Panthers, right? You have the Chargers. They're banged up offensive line, right? Again, another opportunity for you to try to get that D-line jump started. Not saying they will. I'm just saying that they have the opportunity. They play the Browns.
Yeah, okay.
They play the Browns, right? Rookie quarterback. He's still going to be figuring out. That'll be his third start. He's still going to be figuring out. Then they go to Atlanta to play the Falcons. The Falcons aren't a phenomenal team, right? They got they got killed by the Panthers. What was that, like 30-3? They put Kirk Cousins in that joint. That's not a great team. And then the Ravens. And the Ravens could be down Lamar. They could be down, I think, 3 key starters on that defense.
They
could be. He has a hamstring. A hamstring injury. You don't want to play with that. You got the hamstring, and then I think Matabuke is on IR, or is he out for the season? I think I saw 2 reports.
I don't know if he's IR.
And I think I literally just was looking up their injury report because I was just so surprised. I think it was Kyle Hamilton didn't practice this week, right? And then Roquan Smith didn't practice this week either. So like there's they could potentially be without, three
4
starters,
players. Yeah.
3-4 players.
Star
I
players.
know Kyle Van Noy's banged up. Marlon Humphrey's also banged up. So look, I'm just saying.
Okay. Yeah, but you know what?
If the injury holds, it starts with
taking care of your business.
It does.
And your business is, there's a checklist of things that you need to do as a Dolphins team, starting with stop the run. Then shore up this offensive line, keep Tua safe and not have him rushing his throws, running the ball, creating some pass rushing pressure because you're getting favorable third down situation, and then having a tight enough special teams unit. I just want to say to Coach Ackerman, I missed the press conference because I was doing radio. I was not skipping you. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, they be changing. Hey, if you're watching this, Coach Ackerman, they be changing the times on you, man. That's not fair. That is not fair. Because they had it as 10:30. I left my house at a early enough time. I stopped at Wawa, got me a coffee, got me a sandwich, and I walked inside the facility at 10:20. And then I saw you up on that podium, and I was like,
they sent it out the day before that they moved it up 15 minutes. It is what it is. We are responsible for. I at least have an excuse. So
yeah, I was at Wawa. Yeah, that was my bad.
Yeah, you was at Wawa.
I left more than early enough. I did not see the schedule change. I did not see that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I saw the one before, the day before. Yeah. Did not see the day after.
But I'm not skipping you, Coach Ackerman. I'm doing better. I'm paying attention. But I wanted to say, yeah, but and you got to take care of the ball. Now, I think the turnovers last week were luck. I'm sorry. I'm not going to give you a punch out at the 1 yard line and say, "Oh, that was skill." Nah. Maybe the second turnover of when they forced the fumble. Okay, I can respect that. That's a good turnover.
Of course.
A special teams hit. Props to Cam Good. That's why you here, big dog. You're doing your thing.
Yeah.
Continue to start bust heads out there. But can I expect you to have a +3 turnover ratio? If you continue to have a +3 turnover ratio the rest of this season, you headed to the playoffs because
that's
phenomenal.
That's real.
What I do need you to do from a Dolphin standpoint, I need you to run that ball. Yeah. And I know things are going to change without Tyreek, but if they change without Tyreek, I trust Tua that he's going to find the open receivers downfield, especially in one-on-one coverage, and he's going to be able to exploit the defense. But this team needs to be a running team moving forward. And I know Mike McDaniel's got it in him. He is a former run game specialist. That's how he worked his way up to NFL head coach. Yes, he became obsessed with the pass game because of the presence of Tyreek Hill. But do not forget who you are. And you better pull that stuff out and figure this out and make this team a physical running team. Shorten the game. Tua is an efficient quarterback. Did you know that Tua is second all-time in NFL history for completion percentage behind Joe Burrow? And it's like 68.5 to 68.2 completion percentage.
I'm not surprised.
We're talking all time.
He's a very accurate thrower of the football, so I'm not surprised. I just,
I was shocked. Joe, all he's got to do is get ahead of Joe Burrow. He will be the leading accuracy. Obviously his career isn't over yet, but but that, and that's where I don't want to get into the disrespect that Tua deals with on a regular basis because you part of it too. But when you are that accurate and efficient as a quarterback, as long as you don't turn the ball over, Tua's going to convert on third downs and Tua's going to convert in the red zone. All you got to do is put a running game with that. You'll be fire. So
yeah,
you deliver in clutch moments.
That's what I'm saying.
I can't make no promises. But you'll put your team in position to win games.
That's real.
With efficiency. Right. So On that note, what's your prediction, Isaiah?
So when the season started, I think I said 27-16 Dolphins. But with no Tyreek, I don't think that they score that much. So I am going to change it to 20-16.
Still
20 to 16 Dolphins.
I'm at a 21-17 Dolphins victory. Just from this standpoint, I'm still worried that this defense hasn't figured out how to stop anybody. And even with a backup running back, you got to do it. And maybe all it takes is one game of success. Maybe all it takes is one game of putting it on film, and you're like, oh, okay, that's what I got to do. So who knows? But we will be back on Monday to review what happened with your Miami Dolphins football team in this what is it? No status quo season?
No status quo season, yeah.
No status quo. On that note, Dolphins in depth, we are out, and we will see you on Monday.